Welcome everybody! Chef Marshall O'Brien here, and this is Cooking with Confidence. I'm really excited to have you here. Thursday nights, 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Got an awesome recipe, and I'm really excited to be cooking with you in the kitchen. Before we get into tonight's recipe, and it is awesome, a couple things to think about. If you've got comments while you're cooking or watching, put them in the chat box. We will respond to it in real time, and if you're watching at a later time, we will respond. Follow us on Facebook at Chef Marshall O'Brien Group. Let your friends know, let your family know, let your friends' family know. And also you can find us at Instagram at Chef Marshall O'Brien. Definitely, when you follow us and share this stuff and let people know about it, it's going to help us grow the show. So please let people know all about it. Now, we put this show together to help you in 3 areas. First thing is we want to help you, give you confidence in improving your skills in the kitchen to make great tasty meals. We want to help you save little, I'm having a brain fart. What's the second thing? Oh yeah, we want to help take the stress out of your meal planning so you can get some stress out of your life. And then the last thing is we want to help teach you how to nourish and cook for you and your family, not just feed yourself. And I got to take care better of myself because I'm kind of all over the place. All right, all jokes aside, but that's what's fun about doing these shows is you never know what's going to happen. Today, we do have an awesome recipe. It is a penne pasta with sausage and greens. And I never thought that greens would get me so much conversation before the show, but that's what has happened, and we'll talk about what I'm saying here in a second. A couple things before we get started, ladies and gentlemen. Do you have your ingredients? Did you sign up and get the ingredients in the shopping list? We're working with penne pasta, we've got Italian sausage, we have some greens, spinach or kale. We're going to talk about that because some people are asking. A little butter, garlic, little onions. We've got some mystery basil in there. We'll talk about that. A little salt and pepper. Really simple. Really simple. So as I said, as you are following along in the show, Tammy, so awesome to have you here. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. While you are preparing, or you're going to prepare, because some people like to watch and then they do it after the show, whatever it takes. I just want to help you have fun in the kitchen, be safe in the kitchen, enjoy it, and then keep coming back for more because we're doing some cool stuff every Thursday night, like I said. But the first thing we want to do is we got to get the pasta going. So let's talk 2 seconds about pasta. Number one is there are a whole bunch of different varieties. Like I said, you got questions about pasta, you let me know and we'll answer your questions. You want to make sure you have boiling water. You want to make sure that you're ready to go. I have the pasta that I'm using. I'm actually using a brown rice pasta. You might ask, why am I using a brown rice pasta? I'm using that because whenever possible, I like to focus on a whole grain pasta because it's going to help keep your blood sugar stable. So that's what I'm focusing on. Also, I want to make sure that while that pasta starts to cook, this will cook for about 12 minutes. I want to make sure that it does not stick to the pan. So I just did a little stir, and I'm going to actually slide it back here now. But I chose to use, as I said, that brown rice pasta because it's got the good slow carbs in there. If you can find a whole wheat pasta, that'd be great as well. I happen to do that. We have some gluten sensitivities in my house, and brown rice pasta is a great way to do it. But that's why I do it. Tess, awesome to have you on. Michelle, awesome. You got the gluten-free option, Michelle. I would say brown rice pasta. There are quinoa options for gluten-free. There are garbanzo bean options. Their products are getting better. I'm sold on the brown rice version. I think it tastes great. My kids like it. The other ones haven't made a definitive decision on that. But so anyways, we've got our pasta going. And next what we want to do is we're going to heat up our pan. And I got a big skillet here. I'm going to put the lid off to the side. But I'm going to get the pan heated up. It's really important. One of the things we talk about, you want to improve your skills and confidence in the kitchen, is to be prepared. A lot of people have their ingredients. Check. They got a kitchen. Check. They got a cooktop. Check. How about your knives? Check. Maybe. Maybe not. Cutting board. You want to feel comfortable. I love the things that I cook with. Obviously, I like to cook a lot, but I want to make sure that you feel comfortable. So make sure that you have a nice heavy bottom skillet that equally heats around and doesn't have hot spots and that sort of thing. Make sure that your knife feels really comfortable so when you start chopping, slicing, and dicing, as we're going to do, I just am distracted by the noise. We got to figure out how to make that noise go away. That's on me, not on those guys. make sure you like what you're using, because then you will cook more. I got the look like, what's he talking about? But anyways, you can like literally, what's he talking about? All right, moving forward, but make sure you're comfortable. That's what you want to do. Rosie, awesome. You're using Fiber Gourmet for type 2 diabetes. Really appreciate you saying that. That helps us. That helps answer some of those questions if you're diabetic. That's awesome. Okay. Pan is now hot. How do I know it's hot? You might be thinking, well, you can feel the heat radiating. If you add the fat to the pan, and we're going to use some olive oil. You notice the recipe, I have olive oil and butter. Recipe serve 6. If you want to scale it back to serve 2 or serve 4, you can do that. You can have a light portion or a heavier portion. I try to make my recipes like a cook once, eat many times situation, because I know how busy people can be, and I want to help you save time and sanity in the kitchen. So that's how we set these recipes up. So going back to the pan, you might be asking, well, chef, how do I know the pan is hot? Pro tip for you. You're going to see the fat shimmering in the pan. You're going to see the fat shimmering down. That is a great way to tell that the pan that it's hot. You can also feel the heat radiating. Well, this is definitely hot. But I'd like to say hi to my right-hand gal, Miss Jonna, who also happens to be not just my right-hand gal, but my life partner. You could do that if you want, but it probably wouldn't feel that good. Although I have done that, all jokes aside. So, hot pan, got the fat in there. We're now going to add our sausage. Got to sizzle. Here's another tip for you folks. You want the sizzle. Have the sizzle. If you don't have sizzle, your food is just going to sit there and stew, and it's not going to have the texture that you want. Another pro tip that I have for you is you want to make sure that your pan is big enough to hold the food it's cooking, because if you put a lot of cold food in there, what happens is the cold food will actually suck the heat right out of the pan. So make sure that your pan's hot enough and the food you stick in is not super cold, so you can keep consistent heat and consistent cooking with what you're preparing. All right. Questions, comments, thoughts?
Tammy says that I like to prep all my ingredients before I get started.
I think that's a great idea. I agree with that. Tammy, what is the easiest way? How do you prep in advance? Do you literally do it all on the weekend? Do you just prep it right before you're going to make your recipe? I want to know. We are breaking up the Italian sausage. I'm always trying to help get the barriers out of the way, folks. So let's say you're not a big Italian sausage fan. You could use ground beef. You could use chicken in here. Let's say you just don't want any meat in here at all. This would be a perfect time to be throwing in some hard vegetables. Maybe you have some chopped up carrots in there, or maybe some not so hard vegetables. Add those in. But the point is you're going to start build this in layers, and definitely starting with the meat or hard vegetables, I would be doing that. All right, this is looking really good. How many of you are really comfortable doing the pan toss? You know, initially, good. Liz, glad you're liking it. Just do a quick little back and forth. Push and pull. I'm going to push it and then pull it. Push it and pull it. Make sure that you're doing that so that you can get your food well-rounded, incorporated there, and breaking it up. You can also use the back of the spoon. That will help smash it up. While our Italian sausage is cooking, we're going to get some of the other ingredients prepared, like the onions and the garlic. We're going to slice up some onion here. Another little tip for you folks, and I'm kind of taking Tammy's inspiration to bring this up. Why not have a bunch of onions? So, here we go. Hold on a second. You want to know another little tip? I got many, many tips for you all day. If you take a wooden handled utensil and you put it on top, it will keep the, read my mind. Someone read my mind. Why am I doing this? Thank you. Yes, it will help from all of that stuff boiling over. So that's actually kind of cool. You might be asking, why do I have one of these with me? You know, I believe in just making it happen. So if you are in a studio kitchen like I am and don't have the luxury of dumping your pasta into a sieve into the drain, because I could, but my back would be to you, you could use this. You could use this. You could use all sorts of things. Okay, again, I want to get all the barriers out of the way. What's that?
You're prepared tonight.
I am prepared tonight, or at least it looks like I am. All right, so this is cooking. We've got probably 6 minutes, 5 minutes left on that. But anyways, going back to the onions, I want to make sure that, like how Tammy was saying, you have these things cut up in advance. It's going to make life a lot easier for you, especially if you just don't have a lot of time, but you want to make nourishing meals that are going to work for you. And if I could get this onion to work for me by getting the skin off, I would do that. But it looks like I just have to kind of get a little aggressive with it and be a little more persuasive. All right. We always talk about being comfortable with the knife. Super important. If you're not comfortable with the knife, are you going to cook for yourself? What do you think? Say it in the chat box, yes or no. Of course you're not. Okay? It's like anything. You got to be comfortable. So we want to make sure that we feel comfortable with our knife. Let that knife do the work. Okay? Let that knife do the work. I'm going to make a series of cuts here onto the onion. You can see for the most part it stays all intact right there. And then I'm going to continue on and just let the knife do the work and slice that up. That looks great. I have minimal waste, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. That's not a lot of waste at all. So I have my onions ready to go. Cut up all the onions, and then you could have those, put them in an airtight container in your freezer, and you're all good to go. I'm going to finish up the rest.
Tess has a question.
Yes, Tess has a question.
Why do you start with the sausage instead of the onion?
Can you keep a secret, Tess? You're saying, yeah, I can. Well, so can I. Okay, that was dumb. It's fun with 5-year-olds, not when you're doing a cooking show. The reason why I'm starting that is I want to get the protein broken down. I want to get it cooking, and then I'm going to add the onions in to help infuse flavor into the meat. So that's why I do that. Especially if I do the onions first, they might, if I'm not super experienced or not paying attention, I could potentially burn the onion because there's lack of moisture in the pan. So the meat will help be that little buffer to ensure that I don't burn my onions as well. I'm flexible. If you want to go the onion route first, you could certainly do that, but that's the technique that I use and I have the most luck. Did I say luck? Freudian slip. Most success with. Okay, we're going to add these now. This looks great. Adding our onions into our pan. We're also going to be adding here in just a second, going to add the garlic. And I'm going to add the greens. And I want to talk about the greens because a couple people had some questions on it. And I did this by design. The recipe calls for kale. On the shopping list, I provided spinach. Why did I do that? I did that because I want to kind of make this as real as possible. And what I mean is sometimes you might be having a recipe and then you realize, oh, I don't have that. I have this. Or there could be, there's a miscommunication on something, or maybe you don't like kale or you don't like spinach. So how do you be flexible and how do you create it to work for you? Now, if you're cooking with kale, we're going to put that kale in right now because it's going to take some time to break it down. Now, I happen to have a combination of baby kale and spinach, and it's really baby kale, and it's really tender. Mature kale is going to take longer to cook, so you don't want to overdo it, otherwise it'll turn to mush. Now, we're not going to have that problem because of what we're cooking today, but be mindful what the type of green you're using, the thickness of it will dictate how long you cook it for. I'm going to get the garlic.
Sandy wants to know, should
Yes.
my meat brown?
Say that again?
Should my meat brown?
Sounds like a personal problem, Sandy. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Was that funny? That was kind of funny. All right. Yeah, I learned what works, what doesn't. Got some chuckles. Yeah, definitely you can make the meat brown. What you're doing is you're caramelizing. When you let that meat brown, you're caramelizing the meat and the natural sugars in the meat. And there's, it's minimal, but you're getting a nice color. You're getting nice aroma. You're getting flavor. And when you brown the meat like that, you're also going to get that on the pan, and that will help create a nice sauce that we'll be doing in a little bit. So absolutely brown your meat when you're doing this. I think that's a great idea. Let's go back to that pan toss here. I'm going to get the garlic smashed up. A little trick that you can do that I just thought of right now, and maybe my right-hand gal, Jana, can efficiently and quickly, down by your feet, grab 2 equal-sized mixing bowls. Never mind, forget it. She's looking at me like I got to move all this stuff. But the idea is you can peel your garlic, or not peel it. I'm smashing it right now, okay? leaving the skin on. Everybody see that? I'm leaving the skin on because there's a technique that I want to show you. If you happen to be doing a lot of garlic, like I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of worth, and honestly, I like to add more. Oh, beautiful. Can you give me 2 of those little bowls?
This one?
Yep, that's perfect. You take, as I smashed it, now why am I smashing but not letting go of the skin? You might be asking. I will show you why. Again, if you have a lot, you don't want to sit here, putzing with peeling garlic. Well, you can take any kind of bowl, glass or metal, but it needs to be hard. And then you're going to just shake it really vigorously. I just thought of this right now. It probably looks funny on TV, but that's okay. And then we open it up, and look, the peels came off, and now we have our garlic ready to go. That's pretty cool. Check that out, everybody. We were doing some recipe development today, and we did that technique, and that's what kind of inspired me. So thank you for letting me humor you there. Whenever possible, I like to have minced garlic chopped up, oxymoron, I guess. Minced is more than just chopped, but I like to have it minced up, and then I put it in my in a little container in the freezer, and then I can just pull it out and use it as I want. Okay, this looks great.
How is the pasta?
You tell me. What's the timer?
I forgot.
Oh, that's why she's my right-hand gal on the talking, not on the cooking here. But anyways, let's check it. I think we're about 12 minutes or longer. Okay, beautiful. If you're at home, you're going to do this in a way that's really easy, and you're going to pour, obviously you're going to pour the pasta into a strainer, most likely in your sink. Because I have the situation that I have, I'm doing it different. I'm going to take my pasta out, and you can see this looks nice and tender. I'm going to take a bite. This is good. It's really important, folks. I'm looking for al dente. What does al dente mean? It has just a slight crunch, isn't even the right word, but just slight firm texture. You can easily overcook pasta, especially for those gluten-free options or those other more innovative type pastas that support, diabetic diets and things like that. Really follow the instructions and get a good grasp on the doneness by feeling it, by tasting it, knowing the time, the heat, all that kind of stuff. Again, you improve your skills, you improve your skills, you boost your confidence, and then you'll keep doing it. This looks great. We're really good. We're good on the pastas.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me, Jonna. I appreciate that. It's so funny. I kept saying, people remind me, because I'll probably forget. And then nobody. Well, Jonna reminds me.
I still did, even though I forgot.
All right. I'm going to add the garlic now, and then I'm going to add our greens. Let's just chop this up a little bit more here.
Rosie and Diana like your garlic tip idea.
Isn't that a cool garlic tip? I think that is a fantastic garlic tip, and it's actually really easy. I know I got kind of into shaking the bowls, and it's really easy. You don't have to put a lot of muscle, is what I'm trying to say. All right, this is beautiful. Now, in directions, we talk about having 3/4 of a cup. We talk about have some water divided. You might be thinking, well, what is that all about? We're going to add a little bit of water into the pan to help deglaze the pan. That's a technique where it's a hot pan, you add liquid. Got the sizzle, my friends, right? And what will happen, let's see, is that about half of that? Yeah, it looks about right. What happens is the sizzling from the water will help pull off all that brown goodness. I think that was Sandy. You were talking about browning the meat. We're pulling the flavors because that brown stuff, they call it fond, and fond is flavor. So it's pulling it off of the pan, and we're just building layers into this. I always talk about building layers in with soup, but any recipe, you really can build layers of flavor. All right, did that make sense what I just said?
Layers of flavor.
Layers of flavor, yeah. All right, cool. We got that going. We're going to add our greens. My greens, I used very tender, a combination of the spinach and the kale, so I did both. I'm going to pop those in right now. They're a little sticky because that garlic is sticky. Going to add that in. Then we are going to stir it up, and because they're baby greens and they're tender, they're going to cook pretty quick. I'm actually going to put the lid on here and let it simmer for a bit and let the steam capture so that we can get the greens to wilt and all that. All right, we're going to let that sit. And then in a couple minutes now, like I said, if we were doing with regular kale, it would take a bit longer. But TV magic, 10, 15 minutes, presto, the kale would be super tender and tasty and ready to go. So we're going to let that cook for a second.
Okay,
And
good. We have some comments
questions.
coming in.
Yes,
Let's
questions.
see. Tammy says I like to grate my garlic. Rosie says I'm using some pasta water to deglaze my pen. That's a great
thank
idea.
You, Rosie, love it. Why not use the pasta water? So instead of dumping it into the sink, you could dump it into the bowl and reserve some of that water, or you could just portion some of the water out. That's a great idea. And you know what else is cool about that is you got flavor from the pasta water, and you got starch from the pasta water, which will help everything stick more. You notice that I did not rinse the pasta. There's pasta purists out there that would say, like they say that's a no-no because the starch on the pasta will help the food cling to it, the sauce cling to it. So I'm not rinsing the pasta, chilling it or whatever. I understand the reason for doing it, and again, I want to get all the barriers out of the way. So if you need to do that because you made the pasta in advance, no problem. Good tip for you is that you can cook the pasta, then chill it, portion it, and freeze it, and then just simply reheat it later so you don't have to go through the trouble in dealing with hot water, especially if you have kids that are helping you in the kitchen. You want to make sure it's a safe environment so that they can have fun and you feel comfortable, because if it stresses you out having kids in the kitchen, they're not going to be doing it with you for very long. So want to make sure that you feel very comfortable, and that's an easy way to minimize any potential hazards and issues and that sort of thing. I'm going to mix this up. Shortly here, folks, I'm going to add the lemon juice, the salt, pepper. There was a direction about adding basil, and someone said, well, how much basil? Didn't have basil on the shopping list. Well, this is one of those examples where if the recipe throws you through a loop, how do you adapt and you're prepared? We're going to add a half a teaspoon of basil in there. Maybe you have Italian seasoning. Maybe you have other Italian-inspired herbs, dried herbs, that is, half a teaspoon. Pop it in there. It's going to be fabulous. So shortly, we'll add the herbs. We're going to add the butter. We're going to add some lemon juice, and then add our pasta and the remaining water, which you could reserve with pasta water. And we are going to be all set.
And Diane wants to know, when do you add salt?
When do you add salt? Right now. Seriously, we're going to add our salt and pepper. Something I want you to be mindful of, ladies and gentlemen. Italian sausage tends to be a high salt food. Therefore, that's why we don't have this be like outrageous amounts. There's a lot of salt and a lot of flavor in the sausage, so we're going to use that to help create the flavors. And we also have fresh lemon juice. I love cooking with citrus because citrus brings out so much flavor without extra sodium. So keep that in mind. The butter that we're using is going to add another texture, another element of flavor, another flavor profile, a depth of flavor, another layer of flavor there. We're going to add that in and add a little richness to it. We're going to add the pasta now. Put that, yes?
The butter is still there.
Yes, that's okay. Going to add that pasta. All right. Now, let's finish this with some lemon, and we're going to let in the water, and then we're going to let it sit and simmer just for a few minutes so that the liquids can absorb. Man, this looks awesome. I am excited about this. Questions, comments, thoughts? Great questions tonight, folks.
Dominic says he has some oregano dried from the garden this summer.
Ooh, I'm jealous. Thanks for rubbing that in, Dominic. That's awesome. I am very jealous, but that's exactly the kind of great things you can put into this. Speaking of putting into this, we're going to add a couple tablespoons, and you can modify. I look at when I put recipes together, baking is a science and cooking is an art. And once you get the basics down, you can become like this, this artist in the kitchen. And that's kind of a cheesy expression, but if you're not having fun, you're not going to cook. And if you're not cooking for yourself, you're going to have to rely on other people to take care of you. And for most people, it just doesn't work that way. So why not empower yourself in the kitchen so you can, feel your best eating great tasting foods and feel good that you are doing the right thing for yourself.
Let's keep the food in the pan.
And keep the food in the pan. Yes, I know. Sorry, I'm working on it. Squeeze some lemon in there. You could certainly use a citrus reamer.
Texture.
You can use a citrus type thing. Okay, that's probably close enough there for the 2 tablespoons. Then we're going to add that water.
Question?
Yes.
What's the texture of the kale?
Before we say that, I'll get to that in a second. When I added that water, I just had another sizzle in there, another elevated sounds of sizzle. What's happening is that remaining water, and again, you can use that pasta water. Rosie, good call on that. That's going to pull the rest of those flavors off the pan and just make this nice little easy pan sauce that'll coat the pasta. And we're going to finish this off. And then, because of TV magic, it'll be done in just a second. Now, to answer your question, the texture of the kale, it will be tender. If it's chewy, cook it a little bit longer. But if it's mushy, you went too far. And you won't go too far with kale unless you forget about it and you have things going on. So it should be tender and easy to chew, and it's going to be just awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay.
More
more questions,
Let's
comments.
see.
And we're going to have...
There's... do you
waiting
ever
on,
drain the sausage?
Something to talk about from
Steve
last
wants
week
to
type
know.
thing. Oh, Steve wants to know.
Do you ever drain the sausage?
You could definitely do that. This was a low-fat sausage. There wasn't much, oil in there, but definitely you could do that. So if it's greasy, drain the sausage. I'm trying to minimize and granted I got this big presentation here, so I'm trying to minimize how much steps for you, but you certainly could do that, especially if you're watching your saturated fat intake. That's probably a smart idea.
Diane wants to know, what can I add for color? Sun-dried tomatoes?
Sun-dried tomatoes. How about some thin slices of red bell pepper? How about just some crushed red pepper on there? I think that's great. Some chopped up fresh tomato would be really nice. And as it sits in here and lets it, that tomato will soften up and break down a little bit, and it'll have great flavor and all that.
Okay, I have, let's see.
All right, hang on before you continue. We want to give you a couple highlights from last week, so check this out real quick. Every week, people are cooking with us and improving their skills and confidence in the kitchen. We want to acknowledge those who are taking the time to cook our recipes and are willing to share their creations with everyone. Check out this audience highlight from last week's recipe. He's a much better dancer than I am. We want to know, what are you cooking up? How did it turn out? How did it taste? And so, as you can see from folks that have been participating in this super cool show, let us know what you're liking. Take a picture. Put it in the comments, okay? Yes, Sandy, add the red pepper flakes. Definitely add the red pepper flakes. Speaking of adding the red pepper flakes, I have some, but we've already got plenty of spice. I'm good on that. And we're ready to dish this up. This is good. Some other little kid tips for you. If you have kids or grandkids that are participating with you, they could certainly help you portion out the onions, the garlic, the seasonings. They can help squeeze the lemon in there. They can help with the cutting up the greens or tearing up the greens. There's a lot of ways that you can get your family involved, and the more that they get involved, or whoever's in your life can be a part of this, the more fun it'll be, and you'll improve again your skills, and it'll help improve your confidence, because confidence brings on more confidence, and it'll bring on more skills and more curiosity. I want you to be curious. I want you to try this stuff. I mean, this is simple, but it's so tasty. It's so good. It looks awesome. I definitely want to put this together. This recipe is we took this from our Smart Nutrition Cookbook, and it's an awesome resource. We have over 70 recipes in there: breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, slow cookers, Instapots, dressings, dips, that sort of thing. And we have a meal planner tool in there so you can plan stuff with confidence and certainty and make great tasty meals for you and your family. You definitely want to check it out, smartnutritioncookbook.com. Definitely do it now. All right, let's serve it up. Well, folks, thank you so much for letting me cook with you tonight. Whether you're eating solo or you have people around, I hope you enjoy your meal. I know you're going to love it. Make sure that you follow us on Facebook, Chef Marshall O'Brien Group. Again, share it with your friends, with your family, with your friends' family. And you can also follow us on Instagram at Chef Marshall O'Brien. Check that out, folks. While you're enjoying your dinner tonight, my Chef Marshall Show family is going to come up and enjoy dinner as well. Next week, by the way, we got a tangy Italian Tuscan soup. It's going to be fabulous, really easy. Can't wait to have you there. Have fun in the kitchen, folks. Enjoy it. And thank you so much. We're going to see you next week. What's that?
And photos. We want to see the photos.
Want to see your photos. I mentioned that already, but I'm going to thank you, Gabriel, for bringing that up again. I want to see your photos. What are you doing? What's working? If you got challenges in the kitchen, you don't have to announce it with the world, but you can reach out to me, again, on Facebook, Chef Marshall O'Brien Group. You can also follow me on Instagram at Chef Marshall O'Brien. But I want to help you taste success in the kitchen. Thanks again for cooking with me. Have an awesome week, and we're going to see you next Thursday night.